Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Welcome to our series on parenting in the 21st century. We have with us today Candace Adams, the early intervention official with the Albany County Department of Children, Youth, and Families. She's going to talk to us today about early intervention programs and services for the parents and children in our county. Welcome, Candace, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and talking to us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I thought, with inviting you, that our viewing audience would be very interested in hearing about the types of services and programs that parents in our county have access to in terms of judging their children's developmental progress. Particularly the early young children.
Exactly.
Would you talk about your office and your job and what kinds of services you offer?
Sure. We are specifically the Early Intervention Program, which is actually a national program, and it falls under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, which covers all of regulating special education from birth to 21. The early intervention program specifically is tailored toward those younger children from birth through age 3. So it is a national program, and in the state of New York, it is administered by the New York State Department of Health. And the Department of Health works collaboratively with each of the 57 counties plus New York City. So there are 58 individual local administration programs that collaborate with Department of Health in administering the early intervention program to children and families. So in each county there is an early intervention official, such as myself, that is appointed and designated to locally administrate the program.
And the program, as I understand it, from reading your website and the Department of Health website, is quite extensive. I guess the first step is in identifying problems at the developmental level for infants and toddlers, and who actually calls you or gets in contact with you? How is that initial contact made?
Sure. Well, we have a variety of ways that families get to us when they have a concern about their child from the age of birth through 3. The program specifically serves children who may have developmental compromise, and the mission of the early intervention program is really that early help does make a difference. There's been a wide variety of information in the media in the past several years about brain development in the early part of development in the first 3 years of growth. And so we accommodate that mission, and when a parent or a physician or a daycare teacher or really any primary caregiver that spends time with a child has any concern for that child's development, they would contact us.
So a parent can contact you directly.
Absolutely.
It's not just a doctor or a licensed daycare center that must be used as an intermediary. So there is direct contact.
Yes, and I would say actually the majority of our referrals are from parents directly.
And what are most of the questions and concerns that come to you first?
Well, we certainly have a variety. The program serves both children who qualify for the program based on a developmental delay that is the result of an evaluation and a service that we provide through the program as well, evaluation services. So if the child has a developmental delay, we serve those children and families. We also serve children who have any kind of established condition. So a lot of the children that we get referred to the program will come at a very young age and either directly from the hospital or from the parents when they are bringing children home from the hospital that have any kind of established condition medically.
Are your services free, or is it on a sliding scale, or what is the
Well,
structure?
What I like to say is that they're not free because it's actually quite a costly program, but they are free of charge to parents and families.
Okay. And the criteria, like if you got a phone call from a parent saying that they were concerned that their child isn't talking, and they think that they should be at least beginning speech by, I don't know, it's been so long since I've been back there in the young with the young ones, say 1.5, and they're concerned that they're not speaking well enough. What would be your response to their concern?
Sure, that's actually quite a common one. We get lots of phone calls that parents are nervous or concerned that their child's language is not progressing where they think it should be, or they've talked to their pediatrician and verified their concerns. They would call us, and I have a central intake coordinator who would take their call, who would listen to their concerns. And I would always encourage parents to call even if they feel like the concern is silly or that they just want validation. We have experienced developmental advocates that can talk with them on the phone.
So in an initial phone interview or assessment, and then the next step, if the parent or the intake person, is that what you call it, intake coordinator?
Yes.
Thinks there might be a problem, what is the next step?
Well, the early intervention program is voluntary. It is also a program that has parental rights to an evaluation. So if the parent wants the child to have an evaluation, they are certainly available to have that evaluation. So the intake coordinator would pass that case off to what's called in your initial service coordinator. And the service coordinator is the case manager that would continue to work with that child and family.
And are these case managers, are they usually people with social work backgrounds? Is that what, education, experience?
Yeah, I have actually 13 service coordinators in Albany County that are Albany County employees, and they have a variety of backgrounds. I have a registered nurse as one of their backgrounds. I have several education backgrounds. I do have social work backgrounds for them. There's a variety of early childhood experience that they bring to the table. And when they receive a new case from the intake coordinator, they make that initial contact to the family, and they will schedule a home visit to go out and talk about the early intervention program.
So that's the norm, that a caseworker, is that the correct terminology?
Service coordinator.
A service
is actually
coordinator
what they're-
actually will always provide a home visit. Is there any
Correct.
evaluation done in the county offices, or is it always a home visit?
It's actually at the discretion of the family. So if the family is uncomfortable with someone coming to their home, that meeting can take place wherever they are comfortable. It can take place in our offices, it can take place at a friend or neighbor's house, it can take place in a community location such as a library, really wherever the family is comfortable.
And usually what is involved with an evaluation? Is it a physical exam? Is it just a noticing, trying to discern physically what's wrong, or do they actually take different kinds of hands-on tests? I don't know.
Sure.
Hearing, speech, I don't know whether you handle, whether they do anything kind of hands-on kind
Sure.
of thing if you're talking about being in a library or a public space.
Sure. What will happen at the evaluation stage, following that initial contact with your service coordinator, they would have an initial meeting with you to explain the program, to answer any of your questions, and then to schedule the evaluation. At that evaluation, the parent chooses an evaluator, which they're given a list of evaluators that I contract with in Albany County.
Oh, okay.
And they can choose from that list and have their choice of an evaluator. Based on their concerns for their child's development, an evaluation team is put together. So for example, if the parent concern is in primarily language development, the evaluation team would include a speech therapist.
Okay.
And as the evaluation takes place, they are looking at really the whole child. They're using information from the pediatrician in terms of physical development in their last well-child visit, and any social history or medical history that they would have. And then they're also spending time playing with the child and looking at the 5 areas of development that we look at in early childhood, which are cognitive development, social emotional development, adaptive development, language development, and physical development, which are motor skills.
Okay. What kind of services are provided if there are problems or delays, disabilities that are identified? I assume the county, the state, the federal government, what do they provide?
Sure.
And at what level? I guess, again, I'm going to be asking about fee structure, whether
Okay.
all of this is taxpayer supported, I suppose. I
Sure.
should say.
Well, as I mentioned, there's no cost to families. The program is funded through a 50% state funding and a 50% county funding.
Okay.
So it's a shared cost program between the local administration and the state administration, and at no cost to families. As a result of the evaluation that takes place, the evaluator will make a determination as to whether the child is eligible for the early intervention program, and there are eligibility criteria for the state of New York that they need to accommodate.
In terms of the disability or the delay.
Correct.
Not the income or.
Correct.
Right, okay.
The eligibility is solely based on establishing a developmental delay for that child.
Okay.
With the exception of if they have a diagnosed condition, they oftentimes, with many diagnosed conditions, are automatically eligible for the program.
Diagnosed by a medical team or something,
Correct.
that kind of
Correct.
situation.
So extreme prematurity for a child who's coming home from the hospital and was a preemie, they would be automatically eligible for the program. A child who is diagnosed with cerebral palsy, a child who's has been diagnosed with autism or an autism spectrum disorder, they are automatically eligible for the program.
Okay, so I guess once they're evaluated with a certain type of delay or disability or problem, then is it this team? Does a team decide what the program is? I think on your website I saw a rather formal sounding plan. I can't remember what the acronym was right now,
Sure.
but maybe you can tell us
Yes,
about
all the
that.
alphabet soup, and
Yeah.
you're correct. There is a formal plan. So the evaluators, as well as the family and the service coordinator, sit down as a team and they develop what's called the IFSP, which is the Individualized Family Service Plan. So based on the evaluation results and the eligibility of that child, then they sit down and they talk as a team about what the family's priorities are, what their concerns are, what their resources in their community are, and they come up with the best plan to meet that family's needs.
And as I think you've mentioned a couple of times, this is totally voluntary on the part of the parent. If they don't want to participate in the suggested plan, therapeutic plan, I would guess you would call it, then they can choose to not participate in certain parts of it, or is that how it works? So do you have to choose the whole plan, or can you opt out of certain?
It is a
certain
voluntary
items?
program, correct. So the parents can opt to participate in early intervention or to withdraw or not participate in early intervention. But as a whole, the early intervention program is a very family-driven, very family-centered process. So the primary people that are making that plan is the family.
Okay.
And the evaluators, and then later any therapists that are involved, and that ongoing service coordinator is really supporting the family in getting their needs met.
And your program, the early intervention program, covers birth through 3 years old.
Correct.
Does that mean on their 3rd birthday you hand off to another program if there's continuing needs or concerns?
That is essentially the way it works. As the child is approaching their 3rd birthday, if there continue to be developmental concerns, we, with the parents' consent, again, we refer that child to their local school district. And then we start that transition process to their local school district who is the administrator of the preschool special education programming in New York State.
Okay. So, all right, so it's all coordinated, and that's wonderful. Let's see. Tell us about your background and your work experience and how you came to where you are right now in your job.
How did I get here? Well, I've always been involved in early childhood and early intervention, specifically really since my college days. I was a psychology major. I have my bachelor's, my master's, as well as my PhD in psychology, with a minor in special education. And I've always worked in and around and with children. I'm a New York State certified school psychologist, and when I was beginning in the field in New York, I worked for a local provider that provides services for children, young children, and I was their preschool psychologist. So I spent many years working in the field as well, doing evaluations and playing with children and families, and then made the move to Albany County as an administrator just about 2 years ago.
Okay, so very good, very nice background. Yeah. What are the signs parents might be recommended to watch for if when their children are growing, their infants are growing? I know as a new parent myself 18 years ago, I wasn't quite sure what the milestones were. And I was the parent of twins, and I had very little opportunity to acquire the information. I kind of got whatever information I had from my pediatrician, but at that time there weren't a lot of computers, and I certainly, with newborns, 2 newborns, I didn't have a chance to go out to the library. So anything that you could offer to our audience today, I'm sure would be appreciated.
Sure. There's such a vast variety of what could be a potential concern in any one of those 5 developmental areas that we talked about. You know, what I usually tell parents is to really go with their gut feeling if they have a concern. If their child, for example, as we mentioned before, is approaching the age of 18 months and really hasn't started using words yet, and is showing frustration over really getting their point across, that could be a concern. You know, if a child, certainly by the age of 12 or 15 months, is not walking securely or pulling to stand and cruising, certainly that could be a motor concern. Really just to use what the parents are always the best teachers of their children, so what they feel like is their gut reaction is usually the right one. And we do work very closely with our medical field in establishing a medical home for children. So I encourage families always to work with their primary care physicians. I do a lot of outreach with primary care physicians as well to engage them in the early intervention process, to remind families that we're there, that they could be referring, and that they should be really talking to their families about what's appropriate development.
I had asked you, I had mentioned to you that I saw on the New York State Department of Health website some great publications, and you brought with you a couple of the brochures and booklets that actually are downloadable and viewable on the website, as well as, I guess, they could call your office and get these copies of these brochures as well. If maybe you could talk about that.
Absolutely. This is on the New York State Department of Health website. It is called Early Help Makes a Difference, which is one of New York State's slogan campaigns, really, that they are focused on. And this is downloadable, as you said, off the website, or viewable. And really what it does is go through quite nicely what is maybe some typical developmental points at each of some ages, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and all the way up through 3 years. And we'll give you just sort of an outline of the things that you should be looking at your 6-month-old to be doing. And if you have further concerns, it also encourages you to talk to your primary care physician or to give your county a call to talk about those concerns.
And I think it has on there as well the contact information.
It certainly
as well.
does. Yep, it actually has right on the back. There's actually a 1-800 number that you can call, and you can also, from the same website, you can get your local county's information and call them directly.
And at the end of this, our chat here, I will mention both the website address and the phone number so
Sure.
that people can immediately get the information.
That would be great. The other piece of information that's on that website, which is quite handy, and each parent gets one of these little Bible guides when they enter the early intervention program. But if you had questions about the program prior to making a referral, or just not sure that you wanted to make that referral, this is also downloadable on the website, and it is a parent's guide to the early intervention program in New York State. It is quite comprehensive, and it walks you through the entire process from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean there was an incredible
Great.
amount of information there when I looked on the website, and I certainly could have used it when I was raising my children. Okay, I wondered if you could tell me, you told me that one of the most common questions is about language development. Can you tell me, has there been an increase in interest in, again, it's always, you never know whether it's the chicken or egg that comes
Sure,
first,
yeah.
whether the fact that people are more exposed to information so that they start to bring their problems to the attention of professionals, or whether actually there's an increase in problems. But has there been an increase in the last few years on calls to or contacts with your office?
It's interesting. Over the past 5 years, we've actually remained quite steady in the number of referrals that we get per year and the number of children that we're serving. We've worked very hard to actually place some more developmentally appropriate information at the point of referral and intake, so that if a parent does call with questions or concerns, we can give them a good idea whether those concerns would warrant a full evaluation, or whether we could send them some developmental information in the mail, which we also do, and they could read it over, talk with their primary care physician, and if they remain to be concerned, can call us back.
Do you have statistics on the number of, I don't know, families you service, or the number of calls you get? Or
We, throughout any given fiscal year, we serve close to 1,000 children in our program and their families. And at any given time, we're serving about 300 children.
Okay. Do you feel that there's more out there that could use your information and services, and where's the bottleneck, if there is a bottleneck?
Sure. We've actually started a pretty comprehensive outreach campaign within the last year or so. In Albany County specifically, we're actually serving a greater percentage of the population of children birth to 3 than is average across New York State. So we're doing a pretty good job, I think, getting our information out there, but there's always a part of me that wants to make sure that all families that might have concerns are aware. So we do participate in programming and any public relations activities such as this program. I also have a staff member who spends a good portion of her time on outreach activities, and she is currently making her way around Albany County visiting all of the physicians' offices.
Okay. Yeah, that must be quite a job.
Yeah.
So that's great. I guess I can't, I want to ask you about autism, because it's been so, the information has just been around recently about autism spectrum. Do I have the words correct?
Yeah.
It's just been in the news a lot, and I wondered if you would talk about that, whether you see an increase in either concerns or the identification.
We do see an increase, and that's not unique to Albany County, and it's not unique to New York State at this point either. And again, there are many theories on what is behind that increase in terms of environmental theories, biological theories, and that could be probably a whole different show to talk about. But we do see an increase in the number of children that are being diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder of one type or another. And the community, I think, is working quite hard to provide a wide variety of appropriate programming for those children.
Can you talk a little bit about what autism is, or at least the signs of autism, that
Sure.
kind of thing?
Parents really that are primarily the most concerned seem to have more than one child in their family. So if there's an older sibling that was diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder at one point, they're watching a younger sibling extra closely, perfectly understandable. The things to really be watching for a young child who would be displaying concerns are their social skills and their ability to relate to people, their communication skills certainly, and not just the use of words, but the social communication piece. So young children often don't relate to adults or caregivers quite the same way.
You mean displays of affection or eye contact, those kinds of things?
Correct. Yeah, it can, and again, there's a variety of things to look for, but eye contact could be one of them. Some parents will say things to the nature of they're in their own world sometimes. They're not really relating socially like you would imagine they should be.
Okay. I just want to, before I go into the reading of the phone numbers and addresses, I just want to thank you very much, Candace Adams, Early Intervention Official,
Yes.
Albany County Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And these services are provided all across the state by county. So, but people who are interested in this could also contact the Department of Health as well as their local county officials as well.
That's correct.
And in every county, does this mean there is an early intervention official?
In every county.
In every county, okay.
Yes.
It's not just the office. There's actually one person who's in charge.
There's one local administrator in every county.
That's fantastic. So we have here Early Help Makes a Difference, and the 800 number for the Growing Up Healthy 24-hour hotline is 1-800-522-5006. There's another 800 number here for New York Parents Connection, 1-800-345-KIDS. The New York Health Department's Bureau of Early Intervention webpage is www.nyhealth.gov/community. And you look for infants and children and then for early intervention. The Albany County Department of Children, Youth, and Families is simply www.albanycounty.com/departments, and you look for the Children, Youth, and Family Department. You are on State Street, am I correct?
That's correct.
And would you like to offer a phone number?
Sure. If parents in Albany County have a concern, they can call 447-4820.
Thank you very much again, Candace.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much for being with us, Parenting in the 21st Century.